There is a moment most people never notice. It happens fast, a fraction of a second. Someone challenges you. They question your intent, your character, your value. It might be direct, it might be subtle. A comment, a look, a tone. And in that instant, your nervous system fires before your mind does. Your chest tightens, your thoughts race, your mouth opens, because you were trained to do one thing: defend yourself. You explain, you justify, you clarify. I didn't mean it like that. You misunderstood me. That's not who I am. It feels reasonable. It feels fair. It feels human. And it is also the moment power slips out of your hands. Because the second you defend yourself, you accept the accusation as legitimate. You don't realize it, but you've already lost the frame. You've agreed, silently, that they have the right to put you on trial. And once you step into that courtroom, you're no longer in control. Here is the truth most people never learn. Power is not decided by facts. It's decided by composure. The person who stays calm controls the room. The person who rushes to explain hands control away. Why? Because explanations are not neutral. They are reactive. And reaction signals weakness, not moral weakness, structural weakness. It says, I need you to understand me. It says, your opinion can damage me. It says, I'm vulnerable here. And predators, social, emotional, psychological, see that instantly. They don't see innocence. They see an opening. This is the brutal law of human interaction. Whoever is least affected holds the power. The moment you flinch, the balance shifts. That's why accusations are so effective. They don't need to be true. They just need to make you move. Because once you move, you're no longer leading. Silence, on the other hand, is dangerous. Silence does something explanations never can. It creates uncertainty. And uncertainty makes people uncomfortable. When you don't respond the way they expect, when you don't rush to clear your name, their mind starts working against them. Why aren't they reacting? Do they not care? Do they know something I don't? Now the pressure has reversed. They're no longer watching you, they're watching themselves. This is where most people panic. Because silence feels like surrender, but it isn't. Silence is withholding energy, and energy is currency. When you don't spend it defending yourself, you force others to spend theirs attacking you, and the longer they do, the worse they look. Here's the uncomfortable truth. People don't trust explanations. They trust emotional stability. Someone who is calm under pressure appears confident. Someone who explains under pressure appears uncertain, even if they're right. This is why in every room, workplace, social circle, relationship, the person who talks the least during conflict is usually the one people side with. Not because they're innocent, but because they look unmoved. And being unmoved is interpreted as strength. There's a reason certain people make others nervous without saying a word. It's not what they say. It's what they don't rush to say. They don't chase clarity. They don't plead their case. They don't scramble to fix perception. They let perception hang. And hanging accusations decay on their own, because accusations need resistance to stay alive. No resistance, no oxygen. Most attacks collapse when they're not fed. This is why silence feels so threatening. It removes the fight. And when there is no fight, the attacker is exposed. Now their tone sounds aggressive. Now their persistence looks desperate. Now their motivation comes into question, not because you said anything, because you didn't. This is the first rule of psychological dominance. Never be the first to explain. Explanation should be a tool you choose, not a reflex you surrender to. The strongest people in the room understand this instinctively. They know that composure under accusation is not passive. It's calculated restraint. And restraint communicates confidence more loudly than any defense ever could. In the next part, we're going to break down why silence makes aggressive people unravel, how emotional attackers expose themselves, and how to stay calm without looking weak or disengaged. Because silence, used correctly, isn't avoidance. It's a weapon. And once you understand how it works, you'll never rush to explain yourself again. Silence doesn't just end the argument. It removes the mirror. Most people don't attack you to win. They attack you to get a reaction. Anger wants resistance. Insecurity wants reassurance. Ego wants acknowledgement. When you stay silent, you deny them all three. And that's when control starts slipping. At first, they assume you didn't hear them. Then they assume you didn't understand. Then they assume you're pretending not to care. That's when they escalate. They repeat themselves. They sharpen the accusation. They raise their tone. Not because you're losing, but because they are. Here's the truth no one tells you. Aggression is not confidence. Aggression is pressure leaking out. People only push harder when their influence isn't working. Silence breaks the rhythm of conflict. When someone attacks and you defend, there's momentum. They strike, you respond. They push, you explain. It becomes a loop, but silence removes the loop. They swing and miss. And missing destabilizes people. The human mind hates open-ended situations. It wants closure. It wants resolution. Silence gives neither, so the mind fills the gap. Why aren't they reacting? Did I misjudge this? Do others see this differently? Now the attacker is thinking, and thinking is the enemy of emotional dominance. Without your reaction to anchor them, they're left alone with their own intent. And intent, when exposed, is rarely flattering. This is where the unraveling begins. They start explaining themselves. They justify their accusation. They add context. They bring up examples. And in doing so, they reveal motive. Jealousy disguises itself as concern. Resentment disguises itself as honesty. Insecurity disguises itself as criticism. The longer they talk, the clearer it becomes. And the crowd notices. Because now the attention has shifted. It's no longer about the accusation, it's about behavior. Who looks calm? Who looks emotional? Who is perfectly fine letting this sit? Who can't let it go? Social power changes hands quietly. Calm reads as confidence. Persistence reads as obsession. This is why silence is so effective in groups. It lets others judge freely, and they almost always side with the person who looks least invested. Now understand this clearly. Silence is not avoidance. Avoidance comes from fear. Silence, used correctly, is deliberate non-participation. You're not disengaged. You're refusing to step into a frame designed to shrink you. That difference is everything, because the moment you defend yourself, you validate the frame. You say, "This accusation deserves my energy," and energy is endorsement. Silence says something else entirely. It says, "This doesn't rise to the level of response." That message lands hard, especially with people who rely on control. Here's the paradox. The more someone wants a reaction from you, the more power you gain by not giving it. Because need is visible, and need is weakness. People can sense when someone needs to be understood. They can also sense when someone doesn't. And the person who doesn't need to be understood appears superior, not morally, but structurally. They look grounded, anchored, unaffected. This is why silence works even when the accusation is false. Truth doesn't defend itself through explanations. It defends itself through consistency. A person who knows who they are doesn't argue about it. They don't correct every misinterpretation. They don't chase clarity. They let time, behavior, and composure speak. And time always favors the one who doesn't panic. Most people fail here because silence feels uncomfortable. But discomfort is not danger. Discomfort is the sensation of losing control. And that sensation is exactly what your silence transfers to the other person. They feel exposed. They feel unsure. They feel watched. So they escalate. They get louder, more emotional, more reckless, and every escalation widens the gap. You rise by staying still. They fall by overreaching. This is the second rule of psychological dominance. Let others reveal themselves while you remain undefined. Undefined people are difficult to attack. You can't trap them in words they didn't say. You can't corner them into positions they didn't take. All you can do is project, and projection always exposes the projector. In the next part, we move from silence to control. You'll learn how to invert accusations, how to respond without defending, and how to turn attacks into status using almost nothing at all. Because silence isn't the end. It's the opening move. By now you understand silence, but silence alone is not the end game. Silence stabilizes you. What comes next elevates you. Because there will be moments where staying completely quiet is not enough. Moments where the attack doesn't stop, where the pressure keeps coming, where the room is watching to see what you do next. This is where most people finally break. They either explode or they over-explain. Both are losses. The real move is neither. The real move is inversion. Inversion is when you don't deny the accusation. You reframe it. Someone says you're cold. You don't argue. You say calmly, maybe. That's it. No justification, no defense, no emotion. And in that single word, the entire dynamic shifts. Because denial keeps you trapped inside their frame. Acceptance without submission destroys it. They wanted resistance. They wanted discomfort. They wanted you to scramble. Instead, you gave them nothing to grip. Now they're holding an accusation that suddenly feels empty. This is the psychological judo most people never learn. You don't push back. You let their momentum collapse under its own weight. Another example. Someone says you're manipulative. You smile slightly and say, if that's how it looks to you. Not sarcastic, not defensive, neutral, detached. What happens next is predictable. They hesitate, because now they're forced to own the interpretation. You didn't confirm it. You didn't deny it. You simply refused to carry it for them. And that's uncomfortable, because accusations only feel powerful when the accused reacts. When there's no reaction, the accusation becomes a mirror. Now everyone is watching them. Their tone, their persistence, their emotion. And the more they push, the worse they look. Here's the principle at work. Power is not in convincing people you're right. Power is in making others look unstable while you remain composed. This is why calm people dominate chaotic rooms. They don't need to win the argument. They win the contrast. The attacker becomes animated. You stay still. The attacker gets louder. You get quieter. The attacker repeats themselves. You say less. And that contrast does the damage for you. Now let's go even darker. Sometimes the attack isn't public, it's emotional. Someone says, you've changed. You don't care like you used to. You're distant. This is a trap disguised as vulnerability. The average person panics. They rush to reassure. They explain themselves. They give emotional concessions. And in doing so, they accept blame for a frame that may not be true. The controlled response is different. You don't argue. You don't comfort prematurely. You say, I hear you. and you stop. That's it. No defense, no promise, no collapse. Why does this work? Because acknowledgement without submission keeps you grounded. You didn't reject their feeling, but you also didn't surrender your position. Now the pressure moves back to them. They expected reassurance. They got presence instead. And presence is heavier than words. Here's what most people never realize. The goal of an attack is not truth, it's leverage. And leverage only works when you react. When you stop reacting emotionally, attackers are forced to escalate strategically. And most people are terrible strategists. So they reveal themselves, they exaggerate, they dramatize, they overreach. And every overreach weakens their credibility. This is why the strongest figures in history rarely defended themselves directly. They understood that responding emotionally lowers status. Responding minimally maintains it, and responding selectively raises it. The key is restraint. You don't speak to be understood. You speak to position yourself. Every word you say should do one of three things: close a frame, shift attention, or increase ambiguity. If it does none of those, you say nothing. Because silence is not emptiness. Silence is pressure. It forces others to move, and whoever moves first exposes themselves. This is where the audience locks in, because now they're not watching an argument, they're watching a power shift. They don't know why it's happening, they just feel it. They feel who's in control, and control is magnetic. In the next and final part, we'll go to the highest level. How to maintain dominance long term. How to let reputation protect you. How to reach the point where accusations don't even reach you anymore. Where silence isn't a tactic, it's who you are. At the highest level, silence is no longer something you do. It becomes something you are. This is where the game changes completely. Because once you reach this point, people don't accuse you to win. They accuse you to test you, and most fail. Not because you overpower them, but because you don't engage them. You've seen this type of person before. They walk into a room and nothing dramatic happens. No announcement, no performance. Yet the energy shifts. People speak differently around them. They choose words more carefully. They hesitate before taking shots. Why? Because this person doesn't react the way others do. They don't chase clarity. They don't correct perception. They don't explain themselves. And that makes them dangerous. Here's the final truth. Reputation is built when you stop trying to manage it. The more you explain who you are, the less believable it becomes. The more you try to control how you're seen, the more obvious the insecurity. But when your behavior is consistent and your reactions are minimal, people start doing the work for you. They defend you in rooms you're not in. They question accusations before you ever hear them. They hesitate to challenge you without certainty, not because you demanded respect, because you stopped needing it. This is the paradox of power. The strongest people rarely look busy defending themselves. They look still, and stillness reads as certainty. By now, you've learned the mechanics. Silence removes emotional leverage. Calm exposes instability. Minimal response shifts the frame. Inversion collapses attacks. Consistency replaces explanation. But there's one final layer. The layer where accusations stop reaching you altogether. This happens when people learn something about you without you saying it. They learn that provoking you doesn't work. They learn that emotional pressure doesn't move you. They learn that escalation only makes them look smaller. So they stop, not consciously, instinctively. Because humans are pattern recognition machines. And once the pattern is clear, attacks fail here. They move on. This is when silence becomes presence. You don't need to stare people down. You don't need to assert dominance. Your restraint does it for you. Now understand this carefully. This is not about ego. This is about energy conservation. Every explanation costs energy. Every defense drains focus. Every emotional reaction hands control to someone else. The untouchable person understands this. They don't waste energy proving themselves to people who don't matter. They don't correct every misunderstanding. They don't panic when misinterpreted. They know the truth doesn't rush. Truth waits. And time reveals what words never can. This is why silence feels heavy when it comes from someone grounded. It's not empty. It's full of certainty. Certainty that doesn't need approval. Certainty that doesn't need validation. Certainty that doesn't collapse under pressure. And that certainty unsettles people. Because most people live reactively. They respond, they explain, they adjust. So when someone stands still while others push, it creates a psychological imbalance. People don't know where they stand with you, and not knowing creates caution. Caution creates distance. Distance creates respect. This is the final form. You don't dominate conversations. You don't win arguments. You outgrow the need for both. You become selective with words, measured with emotion, consistent with action, and slowly, without force, without confrontation, you rise above the noise. Accusations fade before they reach you. Criticism loses its grip. Drama finds no surface to stick to, not because you're invisible, but because you're solid. And solidity can't be shaken. Here's the closing truth few are ready to hear. Power is not loud. Power is not reactive. Power does not explain itself. Power lets others talk. Power lets others expose themselves. Power waits. And when you master this, something changes inside you. You stop feeling the urge to defend. You stop feeling the pull to correct. You stop needing to be understood by everyone. You understand yourself, and that's enough. Because the moment you stop fighting for perception, you control it. Silence is no longer a tactic, it's your baseline. And once silence becomes your baseline, nothing said about you can move you. That's when you become untouchable.